Well, hi, and welcome to Day 10. And it's great to have you back with us today. And this is an exciting topic as we talk about another foundational element of the Hallelujah diet and improving our health. And that's really about meat and animal products. And as most of you probably heard by this point, one way or another, Hallelujah diet doesn't include animal products. And so we remove all animal products from our diet. And there's a really, really good reason for that. And
Well, what they do is they cause disease in the body. There's so much evidence to support that statement. What we found is that if a person consumes meat, they have a much greater chance of getting cancer, of getting heart disease, so many different things.
and the body wasn't designed to process meat. You know, when God made us and He put us in the garden, He put us in the garden with vegetables.
And that was all.
And the animals were there, but they were for us to oversee, not to consume. And it wasn't until after the flood that God allowed us to eat animal products. And I can hear people saying, okay, but God said it was okay to eat them. And yes, He did. But what we have found is that the closer we get back to that original diet God provided for us in Genesis 1:29, the healthier we are. And, you know, we can contest all the other parts of the diet, but we know that God's original plan was fresh fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts. And when we get close to His original plan, our bodies are just miraculously cared for. And it's really neat the way that works.
Time after time, people begin to increase their consumption of vegetables and fruits, and they're beginning to feel better. And that's what we see.
Dr. Campbell with the Cornell University, he did an interesting study. It's called the China study. Yes, we don't want to lose this and get this all burning new.
What we want to do today is we're going to start making burritos. And so what we have done is we have sauteed some peppers and some onions in a little bit of olive oil. And while we're doing that, we're adding to it some black beans. Black beans are high in protein, and they would actually make a wonderful substantive meat replacement.
So it helps to add some of that bulk in there, and it digests slowly, and also has some good protein in it.
We're also going to be adding some whole grain brown rice.
And we fixed that brown rice earlier.
We did indeed. Now, to add a little bit of kick to it, we've got half a teaspoon of cumin. And we have 2 teaspoons of chili powder. That's a little kick.
That's going to add some kick to it.
You'll like this one.
But when we mix it with everything else, it'll really blend in well.
That's right.
So we'll stir those all up nice. And then we're going to let this saute for a few minutes, aren't we?
As we begin to talk a little more about why we want to work more vegetables and fruits in and less meat.
So as we were saying, Dr. Campbell, Colin T. Campbell, he did the project called the China Study. And what he learned was that he studied the different villages in China, and he found that just a little bit of an increase in animal products had a significant increase in the incidence of cancer in the residents there in China. And so the findings out of that help validate that when we eat animal products and consume animal products, we're actually doing things that will shorten our life. Vegetarians live an average of 10 years longer than animal eaters, meat eaters.
A lot of people think that the reason that they're getting osteoporosis is because they're not getting enough milk or dairy. But in fact, the consumption of too much meat is what's depleting their energy, or their ability to be able to have calcium in them, because it takes additional calcium as well as other minerals to be able to remove the meat from the body.
And people with type 2 diabetes, you know, we often hear about sugar and how they have to manage their blood sugar. Well, it's actually the fats in the animal products that cause the insulin receptors to become blocked. And by just removing the animal products from the diet, people have found that the receptors clear up and they're no longer in diabetic condition.
So we have so much evidence to support the fact that meat doesn't do a body good. And we're best if we would just consume less and less of it. And that's why we're suggesting this wonderful burrito sandwich, which is it's substantive and it's good and it's refreshing and it'll fill you up.
And it is wonderful, you're right. You know, somebody's going to say, now I'm used to eating meat. I eat meat like 2-3 times a day and I just can't live without my meat. And what we really tell people is, you know, there's 2 types of people that go on the Hallelujah diet. Some people go on it cold turkey and they say, okay, you know, animal products are bad for me. I'm never going to have another piece of animal product again. And then there's other people that really want to have, they're used to it and they don't want to give up. And none of us really want to give things up sometimes.
That's the truth.
And so what we really recommend is to phase on out of it. Start putting things in like the burrito. And so it's removing that animal products one meal at a time, one day at a time, until we're off animal products, because we're going to be much healthier in the long term when we eliminate the animal products.
And if you happen to enjoy mushrooms, we have found that big portobello mushrooms can be marinated. And once you marinate them, you can saute them. And they have this meaty flavor to them, real rich, robust. You have to chew it as if you would a steak. And it's actually quite delightful. So we've got some of those in our cafe that we make, and we do this at home quite a bit with the portobellos.
There's so many different recipes and things that we can do that are non-animal product, that are vegetable based. Nuts are a great replacement for animal products. In fact, they make a great meatloaf. They make a really good meatloaf. They make ham, all out of nuts and seeds. And there's several books that talk about that we have.
We make a great mock tuna salad. It's pretty good.
So there's really no need for the animal products once we learn how to do things just a little different. And that's really what we're teaching you today.
I think this is about ready.
You ready? All right. So we're going to make us a burrito.
Or two.
Or two or three. Stir that around, make sure it doesn't burn on there while we put some of the other elements on here. So what do we think? Start with some lettuce?
First, I want you to know that you can get a multigrain tortilla that isn't just white flour. And you can get whole grain tortillas, or you can get sprouted grain tortilla, which is exactly what we have this time.
So we'll put some lettuce down on the bottom. Now we're using romaine lettuce here that we've sliced up.
Or you could use spinach, or you could use other greens, whatever you find would be most flavorful for you.
We love onions, so we'll put a little more onion on here probably than what most people would like. And as long as you both have a lot of onions,
it
it's
works
okay.
well. That's right.
We'll put some tomatoes. Now these tomatoes are nice and ripe. We were able to get vine-ripened tomatoes, so we love vine-ripened tomatoes too.
We eat those a lot in the summertime.
And of course, I love to put more on here than we should, so this will probably be a hard burrito to fold. But that's kind of the way that I end up working.
But you eat it anyway.
I'll eat it anyways. It'll taste just as good whether it's all nice and wrapped up or not. Okay, and then what do we made some guacamole.
We sure did.
And we did this by taking a nice ripe avocado and breaking it on down, and we put some lemon in there, and it really came out well. And so we'll put some of the guacamole on top. This is looking pretty good.
Oh, are you getting hungry?
I am now.
I believe
I wasn't hungry at all before.
What you can do to make another form of guacamole is just take a little bit of salsa and put that into your avocado mixture, and that's much more like a typical guacamole that you would get in a restaurant. Or you can just leave it with each individual.
And in this case, we're just going to put some salsa on top.
How beautiful is that?
This is great. We should start a restaurant with this. Now, we just need to figure out how we fold this thing. Carefully?
Yes. And I'm not sure how well it will stay folded, but it sure is pretty.
It sure looks nice, and it's a wonderful burrito.
Very nice. You can add a little bit of salsa over that, and you can actually just cut it up and enjoy it that way.
Did I make it too big? Just
no,
a little bit.
Not for you. You'll eat that.
So there we are. We're putting some salsa on top there. That looks nice. That does look nice, doesn't it?
Pretty quick. All you had to do is cut up your vegetables, and you can use a lot of these vegetables that you had cut up earlier in the week from the
salad box. Absolutely. So, we've shared a little bit about the dangers of animal products. There's a lot of information on our website, hacres.com. Feel free to look through the website, call our customer service reps, and learn more about the dangers of animal products, and then learn on things that you can do to replace the animal products, because it will make a significant difference in your health.
And it's not that difficult.
That burrito that we made, that was delicious.
It was wonderful.
And they really went went well, and what a great meat replacement that is.
And it was substantive. We were stuffed.
You know, and yesterday we had that question about, transitioning the family, and that type of a thing, the family would never know that there wasn't meat in there, and they wouldn't miss the meat. I think it's only when we tell them that we're going on a vegetarian diet or that we're changing our diet and that they would notice it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So it's one of those things that we might be able to slide through there and get the family on.
People often have tacos as one of their evening meals.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of ground beef, they have black beans.
Absolutely. It works well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So we have another question today from Kathy, and she says, I have tried very hard to stay away from dairy, but the best thing I know for calcium is broccoli. Any other things to eat besides that? Do you suggest calcium supplements? That's a really good question, and as we're looking to rebuild and maintain strong, healthy bones, it's important for us to ensure that our body is being fed properly. And the leafy greens are a wonderful source of calcium. But we think that we need a lot of calcium, but here at the U.S. is probably the largest consumer of calcium through dairy products, and yet we're the country with the most, or one of the countries with the most amount of osteoporosis. And there's a correlation because the calcium that we're getting through our milk really isn't a calcium that the body can use.
One of the things we need to remember is everything works synergistically, and what we need to do in order for us to be able to absorb the calcium that we're consuming is to get out in the sunshine. Mm-hmm. Most of us have a vitamin D deficiency, so the best way for us to absorb the calcium that we are currently getting is to be able to have more vitamin D in our body.
Yeah.
Best way to do that is the sun.
And another factor in that is our exercise. And so we need to do resistance training, because between the vitamin D and the calcium that we're already consuming, we need the resistance exercise to really help to strengthen the bones. And we did that study, and I think we talked about it earlier, about how the calcium is really, the exercise is really what's so important for the strong bones.
But in response to your question, if you can incorporate additional varied types of leafy greens, whether it's through smoothies or having other types of greens, whether you steam them or you place them in your salads, those are going to be some very high calcium rich, and there are certain seeds and nuts that also have high in calcium.
Yes. Do a little research. There's a lot of information on the internet if you wanted other ideas on calcium-rich foods. We have another question, and I would like to know, can you use Eggland Best eggs? And they call them vegetarian eggs. And they actually are not vegetarian eggs. They still come from hens, and they still come from the chickens, but the hens are just fed vegetarian diets. And so the eggs are not themselves vegetarian. And on the Halley diet, we don't eat animal products. Mm-hmm. And so Halley Acres doesn't recommend the Eggland Best eggs.
Or any other eggs.
Or any other eggs for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So
vegetarians still don't eat eggs.
Correct. And then our testimony for today, speaking of meat and dairy.
Yes, this was a great testimony. This person has been using Prilosec for their acid reflux for years, many, many years. And they've also been consuming Tums for their acid reflux. And she said after 1 week of not eating any meat or dairy, she was able to stop all of her medication. She said prior to this, her doctor had given her no hope of ever getting off of these medicines. But she brought it to the Lord, and the Lord showed her how to get off the medicines by leading her to the diet. And she also indicated that all of her arthritis has left her body. All this because of this diet change.
Right. Just getting off the animal products makes such a difference to the body. And as she just said, 1 week, and that's all it took for her to get off the medication.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're experiencing that. As we talked today about removing the meat and the animal products from the diet, just keep working on it. And if you're having some of these issues, hopefully they'll be gone soon. And tomorrow is another day where we're bringing in some great topics and information that'll help you regain your health on our 60-day challenge. So we'll see you then.